guys, we're back with another RFL podcast. This is our third episode. Today is going to be breaking down Mike's trip to Middle Earth.
Yes, and we are titling this one Travel, Anxiety, and Shooting Film. But before we get into that...
Wild how often those go together.
Yeah, I'll explain the connection there and how that all works. But before we get into that, Ava, do you want to talk about what's on the table today?
We have...
You were so excited to show it off.
Oh, these?
Yeah, well, you go first.
Okay, this stack of papers is all the orders we did while Michael was gone. Just in the time he was gone. And then we saved all the twin check labels. If you go look at our shorts, you can see that. But
yeah, I think you guys had enough twin check labels where it was literally going outside into the road.
Oh, for sure. And that was like week 1 or something, and we did it the whole time. So I'm very interested to see how long it will actually be when we test it. Probably, Tuesday? That's when everyone else is going to be here.
Yeah. It was getting pretty long, so...
That's 3 weeks of orders right there, which is crazy. You guys can see now why it's 4 to 5 minutes. People were asking.
2.5.
Yeah, I think we talked about that last time, why it's so busy. So every sheet is an order.
You could stop a knife with that,
Yeah, but some of these in order will have 10 or 15 rolls of film. So some of these are one-offs, some of these are multiples, but you guys did this. You guys did this while I was gone.
120 film.
Literally.
Somewhere.
So well done. Well done.
Crazy, actually. It's great.
All right. Well, I have on the table my Leica M6 and 4 lenses, a roll of flick film chrome, which I will explain, and some negatives of flick film chrome. So yes, I went on a 2-week tour of New Zealand. The tour took you from both North and South Island, and it was a Lord of the Rings / Hobbit movie tour. I think I told you guys I was going to do this a year and a half ago.
Yeah, a while ago. Yeah, it was a long time.
It was a while ago. Yeah, the company that takes you on the tour, they book pretty far in advance. So we scheduled it a year and a half ago. I took 40 plus rolls of film. We're doing a vlog on it soon. So that's going to be coming out soon. So we're titling this Travel, Anxiety, and Shooting Film because I traveled, I had a panic attack, and I shot film. Perfect trip. Perfect trip. So the film... This is a roll of slide film that I shot. We'll have a couple images on the screen right now, but these came out extra well. You can see whenever I shoot slide film, I always use a handheld meter just to make sure the metering looks really well. But
so cool.
Yeah, the flick film chrome, if you have not heard of it.
It looks like it's a nice film too.
Oh, it's nice.
The
colors are nice.
Yeah, it's nice. Yeah. So what is this film?
So flick film chrome is technically it's Kodak Ektachrome, but flick film up in Canada, they're buying it in bulk from the cinema portion of Kodak's cinema line, and then they're individually rolling it themselves. So I think we charge $17 a roll, and Ektachrome itself from Kodak is up to $24 a roll.
It's expensive now.
It's basically the same film.
It's basically the same film, yeah. So if you buy it from Kodak, it doesn't have the cinema markings, but my understanding is the same exact emulsion.
You're paying for the name.
So I only shot 1 roll, but it was something I wanted to feature on the podcast. If you like slide film, if you like Ektachrome, this is a much cheaper option. So I went to New Zealand.
Luckies.
So let me tell you a little bit about the title, Travel, Anxiety, and Panic Attack. So we booked the flight, and I purposely booked a day buffer, thinking, okay, if we book a day, because New Zealand is 16 hours ahead, so I knew it would probably at least take a day or two. At least I estimated it would take a day or two to get over the jet lag. And I got to the airport, and we kept getting text messages from United Airlines saying, your flight's delayed. Then an hour later, your flight's delayed more. And then 30 minutes later, your flight is delayed more. To where it got to the point where we were only going to have a 30-minute layover in Houston. So we went from Orlando to Houston, and then Houston to Auckland, and that was the 14-hour flight. And then eventually we're literally walking up to the gate, and the board flashes, your flight is canceled. And the United Airlines people, they were not that great. They literally handed out QR codes on a business card and said, scan the QR code for live chat help, and they all left. So basically your flight's canceled and they took off. No one wanted to help you.
What?
Southwest?
Southwest? That's where your dad works? Yeah. So fortunately for us, we booked our flight through Air New Zealand. So I just called Air New Zealand and I said, hey, this is what's going on. We're supposed to be getting a connecting flight from from Orlando out to Houston, and then tonight from Houston out to Auckland. And the guy's like, yeah, I see your flight's canceled and we can reschedule you for the next day, which I'm glad we booked a day ahead. So, we ended up getting to the tour in time. And he said, but the problem is you're still checked in on the United flight. You need to go out of the gate, back to check-in, and have United uncheck you from the flight. I was like, okay. And he says, once you do that, then call me back. I'll reschedule you for the same flights tomorrow. I'm like, okay, that's good. Then we'll fly out the next day. We'll still get there the day the tour starts, because the tour started like 5 p.m. New Zealand time, and we end up getting there like early morning. So this is where the story gets really good. So we leave, and we go back to stand in line, but granted, the entire flight is standing in line. So we're standing in line for like 30, 40 minutes, and then over the overhead on the airport, they call my name, Mike Hakis, will you please come to information, you have a phone call. I'm like, the heck is that?
Oh, that's not your goodness.
So I walk over and I call, and and I'm already like a little bit high anxiety right now, because I'm like, okay, we need to reschedule our flights. We don't have flights. I'm like, this is a trip I've been waiting a year and a half for, trip of a lifetime. And I'm not prone to anxiety unless I get really, really stressed or lots going on. So then I pick up the phone, and the lady on the phone, she's like, are you Mike Hakis? I was like, yeah. She's like, yeah, you left your wallet back at gate 40. I was like, I left my wallet? And they're like, yeah. I was like, well, how do I get it? I was like, you need to go through security, and you have to have your ID to go through security to get to your gate. And she's like, let me transfer you to someone who can help you. So she transfers me to some guy.
It's always the case.
I tell him what's going on. He's like, there's nothing I can do to help you. And he hangs up on me.
What?
Yeah, no joke. He's like, I can't help you with that. I'm the wrong person.
So annoyingly classic of airlines.
Yeah. So now I'm like, crap. And then Sarah comes over, and she's like, something had happened with the flight. She's like, I think you're checked out. You need to call Air New Zealand back. So I call Air New Zealand back, and he says, yeah, you're unchecked now. I have you rescheduled. So I was like,
okay.
We have a flight the next day. So my planning in advance to go a day early, even though I wanted to have it to get over jet lag, it was canceled.
Perfect. Worked out.
Perfect. So, and we did make it in time. So now I was like, now I need to get my wallet. Then they end up calling my name again on the overhead. I was like, okay, maybe they found it and they're actually going to help me. And the lady's like, hey, some random guy found your wallet. Call this number. I'm like, well, whose number is it? And she was like, it's the guy who found your wallet. I was like,
so this random guy has your wallet somewhere in the airport, and they let that happen?
Yeah, random guy. He went up to the information desk, said, I found this dude's wallet. They didn't want to take it. So
they couldn't take it for legal reasons.
I don't know.
That's
So I have my wallet, my one credit card for like international travel, and $500 cash inside of it.
Oh my gosh.
So I call the number, and it goes straight to voicemail. They didn't pick up. But I think it was one of those things, like if you call someone when they're calling, it goes to voicemail. Yeah. So he calls me back. He's like, hey, man. He's like, I found your wallet at gate 40, and I saw that it had cash in it, so I just want to make sure I get it back to you. I was like, I'm so stressed right now. Thank you so much. Because I was like, we can't go. And so anyways, I connect. He comes back out to security. He's on one side of security. I'm on the other side. I see him in the distance. I'm waving at him. He's waving at me. And a security agent looks over at me like, what are you doing? I'm like, hey, I'm not bad, but he has my wallet. Will you help me get it? I kind of told her what happened. And she's like, oh, okay. So she walks over. She grabs it. And I have my wallet.
Okay.
So. Yeah,
they couldn't just have a security guard take it from
the information desk? The airport didn't want to help. Like, why not? Which it was kind of chaotic. It was Orlando International Airport, so I can see it kind of being busy.
Gotta love Orlando.
Oh, yeah.
Great people.
Yeah, so we ended up having to stay. There's a hotel in the airport, so because we actually got dropped off from family friends, so we didn't even have our car. So we stayed the night at the hotel in the airport, got up the next day, and when they rescheduled our flight, the guy said, okay, I've rescheduled your flight to New Zealand, but I don't see your flight home. I don't see it in our system anymore. I was like, so we don't have a way home? And he's like, it's probably there, but I'm not finding it. I was like, okay. So I can go to New Zealand. I just have to figure it out when we get home. He's like, yeah, when you get to Auckland, just call us back and we'll look into it. I was like, okay. So that night, I didn't really sleep that well. It was just a crazy day. I think I slept 4 hours. the next day we get up, it's a normal day, security, it's fine. We get on the plane, we go to Houston, it's fine. And we get on the plane. And then when I get on the plane in Auckland, I felt like I was settling down. Fly to Auckland, 14 hours. I slept about 4 hours. And so when we got there their time about 5 a.m. Yeah, so it's early. We went through customs, got over to our hotel. And because we were supposed to get there a day early, we actually already had a hotel room booked. And it was the same hotel that the Red Carpet Tours was booked us. So we already had 2 nights technically. So we were able at 5, 6 in the morning to go to the hotel and stay, like crash. But I didn't have a flight home. So Sarah, the kids, and my mom all crashed. And I'm on the phone with the airport. And they're like, yeah, we do see your flight. You're fine, etc. But this is after a holding for like an hour.
No.
And at that point, I'm still kind of wired. So I can't go to sleep. So I stay up all the way to 5 o'clock. And that's when you meet your group. You meet all the people you go on tour with. And I'm about to crash that night. But then when I go to bed that night, I don't crash. I ended up having a panic attack because I think I was just so overwhelmed. So I've had 2 panic attacks in my life. The first one was in graduate school, and I went to graduate school for counseling. So you guys know that. And so I knew what was happening because sometimes when people have panic attacks, they think they're having a heart attack or they literally think they're dying. And so I knew what it was. And I think I was just so fried from no sleep, the jet lag, no flights, losing my wallet. So I had like a mini panic attack and eventually calmed down. And by the time I calmed down, it's 6 a.m. the next day, and we're supposed to get up and go to Hobbiton. So we get up, we get on the bus, we go to Hobbiton. I'm feeling sick the whole time. But once we actually got to Hobbiton, I actually started feeling a little better. I think it was one of those things like you get out of the situation you're in. That's been bad. It's been a rough few days. Then you're in Hobbiton, which was a nice, peaceful. Yeah, it's Hobbiton. Yeah.
Hobbiton.
And I was able to kind of get through that day. And then each day after that, the jet lag was pretty hard. But eventually, the travel got easier and the trip ended up being really, really good.
Yay.
So
That's good.
that's the travel and the anxiety part.
It's a wild trip, but hey, you got there and you got stuff done.
Yeah.
Film.
I think in hindsight, if I ever travel internationally again, or if you travel internationally, I'd highly recommend plan a couple days before your trip.
Right.
Because the jet lag, because they're only it's only like a 6-hour difference technically, or 8-hour difference, but they're a day ahead of us. I didn't think it would be that bad, but it took me a good 4 days to finally get on that sleep schedule and be sleeping through the night. But each day we got up and we went to a different location. So shot the Leica, shot the various lenses, and overall the trip was really good. It was just those first few days. I think I texted you guys a few days later. I'm like, I texted you guys. I'm like, I'm really not feeling well. So if this does not stop, I'm probably gonna have to take some more time off when I get back. But it ended up being fine. It wasn't. The trip definitely improved over time. And then once you got on that sleep schedule, you were good.
Right. Yeah, it's getting though.
Yeah. So you've done international travel before?
Yeah, I would definitely say it gets not easier, but I guess you get used to being I have to sleep. I don't know if that's something in your brain or not, but it can get easier. But it's still definitely difficult where you have those 3 days.
I think that's what it was too. It was so much I kind of felt this pressure I have to sleep, because every single day was get up at 6 a.m. and go somewhere. It was Hobbiton or this movie location or this scenic tour, or one day was you get on a ferry and you go from the North to the South Island. So it was this mental, probably I was putting it on myself, but this mental pressure of I've waited a year and a half for this trip. I have to sleep.
I can't mess this up.
I can't mess this up. And so I think, and then eventually as I started sleeping, the pressure was less, and then it was fine. And now I've come home and I've had that jet lag since I've gotten home, but now I don't care. I'm literally up at 3 a.m. I don't care. I'll sleep when I sleep.
Yeah.
But there's no pressure. I'm just all I got to do is go to work. So we have purposely, that's the story in a nutshell. We have purposely not talked about it much as a lab. So now, what do you guys want to know?
Yeah. I don't know. Your favorite place to walk through?
Favorite place to walk through? Yeah. Man, Hobbiton. So yeah, we already actually have a sneak peek video on YouTube as of right now. And then when this goes live, I'm not sure. But the Hobbiton was neat because what they do is they they give you a tour guide, and our tour guide was in the Hobbit movie.
Really?
Yeah.
What? As who?
You Hobbit?
She was a Hobbit. She was at the very end when Bilbo returns in the third Hobbit movie. Bilbo's returning, and they're selling all his possessions because they think he dies.
Awesome.
At the time of the filming, they were calling for people who they were looking for people who felt like they had Hobbit faces and body.
Yeah.
Right? Because, they want someone to be an elf. They have to have like a slender face, etc.
Right, yeah.
So our tour guide said when the call went out in New Zealand, we're looking for people to play extras as hobbits. She put her name in. They interviewed her. They took her headshot and everything. And she said, like, some time went on and she didn't hear back. But then she finally did. And they're like, we want you to be in it. So if you watch the Hobbit movie, as Bilbo is walking back up and he's like realizing they're selling his possessions, she is literally walking away. I think it was with like a chair or something, some sort of piece of furniture. And she walks past Bilbo and he looks at her. He's like, what the heck? And then he goes forward. So she was actually in the movie. So she was our tour guide. So it's neat because she walks you through Hobbiton and she's telling you about each Hobbit hole, this and that. But she's like, oh yeah, and when we filmed the movies, this was going on. Because they have employees there who are trained to do the tour guides, but she was actually there in 2010 or 11, whenever they were filming.
Doing it with oh, that's so cool. That's
so I think
awesome.
Yeah, so that was probably the neatest place to walk through. But my favorite place was probably the Pelennor Fields. So in the third Lord of the Rings movie, when the Rohirrim come up to save Gondor, like you're in that field, and that field actually is owned by a private landowner. And so the company that we did the tour with, Red Carpet Tours, they've known her for, 15, 20 years. And once a month when they do a tour, she lets the tour group onto her property. She comes out and shows you, okay, this is where that scene was. This is where that scene was. And then she had pictures they let her be an orc.
Oh, that's amazing.
So she's an older lady now, maybe 50s and her 60s, but she had pictures of 20 years ago of her as an orc, and she had to be an extra.
That's amazing.
And
that's awesome.
So yeah, and it was neat because then you could literally see, and then we actually did some reenactment. Those will be in the vlog. They won't be right now, but we did some reenactments, and those were pretty fun to do. And then Mount Sunday was really good. Mount Sunday is Edoras and the Two Towers, kind of that hill where they built, where King Theoden lived.
That's so cool.
We hiked that. So we literally started from the bottom, hiked all the way up, and 360 scenery. And the weather that day was perfect. I probably shot about 6 rolls of film.
Just that tall.
Just that day. Yeah. So those would be my favorite walkabout places.
What was your favorite film to shoot on the trip?
Yeah, film. I brought a variety of films. You guys picked out films for me to shoot. And I think now that the film is done and scanned, I have to go through it and sort it into day, like where we were in the video footage. Probably my favorite film was Portrait 400 to shoot. Yeah.
Although the Aurora looked really
that
good.
shot was so cool.
Yes. Okay. So yeah, I've seen all the film. You guys haven't. I think we'll
only
hold
seen
on.
the one
You've seen the
picture.
one. But yeah, so since Hobbiton was on day 1, we when we got to Hobbiton, it was kind of an overcast day. So I was like, okay, I'll start with Portrait 400. That's 400 speed. It's a great all-around film. And then at one point, the sun started coming out. So I switched to Kodak Ektar, shot like 10 frames. And they're like, oh, we're going inside a Hobbit hole. So I was like, crap. So I ended the roll of Ektar early, and I put in the new flick film Aurora, the 800 film.
You shoot it at 1600?
I shot it at 1600 a different day, because I think you requested that of me. But I think I shot it at 800 that day. So we go through this Hobbit hole, and then we come outside, and we're like, okay, now we're going to go over to the Green Dragon and get a free pint of beer. Like, when you're there, you get a free pint of beer, or they have for kids like ginger ale or something, or some soda.
Yes.
And I'm walking out, I'm like, great, I have this 800 speed film in. It's somewhat light. It's a mixture between shade and light. I was like, I'll just finish this roll because I ended the Ektar early. I didn't want to end another roll early.
Right.
And yeah, so I'm just walking around, and I have this one photo. It's here. We'll put it here on the screen. It was the Voigtlander 28 millimeter lens, probably 1/1000th of a second f11 or f16 because it was just such a sensitive film.
Yeah,
and it was bright enough light. And of all the photos that I've seen so far, that was my favorite photo.
Such a good picture.
He texted it to our Reformed Film Lab chat and had us guess the film stock.
Oh, yeah. I sent it to you guys.
Way off.
What did you guess?
I think I guessed Portrait 400 and Ektar first, which I would say that's not a horrible guess.
No.
I shot both of those that
I
day.
did.
That day, yeah. You were close.
But I just assumed, I was assuming no 800.
No, I saw the photo. I didn't see it in time to guess. You had already said what it
I was
was
assuming
by the time
800
I saw it.
I was assuming 800 speed film wouldn't be in the middle of the day. So I was like, oh, it's got to be the Ektar 100, which said he loved shooting in the day. So I was like, oh, it's perfect.
Well, if
It's
you
a
zoomed
daylight
in,
difference.
like if you zoomed into the photo, it was too much grain to be a 100.
Oh, is that how you figured out?
I was like, it's gotta
Ava.
be an 800.
College.
film.
She knows all the.
So my
Yeah,
first guess was
lonely.
Lomo 800, and then I guessed Aurora.
Yeah, the Lomo,
Is
which
that
were both 800 films. Yeah. So yeah, I was surprised because I've looked through all the film, I've looked through all the images, and there's a lot of great shots. So we're looking forward to making those vlogs and featuring them. Because I probably shot on this camera. Wait, it's gone. Our little pocket camera, the DJI Pocket 3. I probably shot about 4 or 5 hours worth of footage between the 14 days.
I'm excited to see it too.
I want to see Loma from Purple.
Yeah, overall, that was my favorite. I think I'm going to print that on like a 13 by 19 and leave a little border, have a border
yeah.
in it, and then put that in the house. Yeah, but that was...
We should put one up here.
Yeah,
Right
yeah,
there,
we should.
above that
It'd be
one.
cool to do one of the slide ones and then do like the actual negative like under the
The
pictures, like do like the
Oh,
actual
yeah.
slide, like and like if you've got some light, I know people have them where you can actually have light behind it and actually have it like have it on,
Mm-hmm.
just be able to see the negatives or positives. Sorry, yeah.
Yeah, I've seen some people do that. They'll have like a light box and they'll just put the negative on it, shining through it on their wall, especially with like 4x5 or 8x10 film.
Cool.
Yeah.
I want to do that so bad.
Yeah, the color is so rich on the Ektachrome, so I'm really happy how those turned
The
out.
color turned out. I mean, just even for what the
Yeah.
negatives, the colors are really good, even just on the negatives.
Yeah, whenever I shoot film, I have a little Sekonic handheld light meter.
I stole from him for like 2.5 years.
Yeah. I think I asked you for it before the trip, right?
Yeah, like right before you're gonna buy a new one, and I'm like, oh yeah, it's been sitting in my closet. for, like,
Actually, I almost bought a new one because I forgot where it was. And on eBay, there was an auction for one. I put a bid in, and fortunately, I did not win because you had it.
How much was it for? Because I kind of want to buy one.
I think the one I have,
I'm just gonna find one.
I forget the model. It's one of the smallest, simplest model. I want to say maybe around 100 or 100 more.
Oh,
Yeah, because they make some
cheap
really
for light
larger, elaborate ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, where you can
they
look
have
through
some and they have different.
spot meter, but this one's really small. I mean, literally can fit in your hand like that big. And it just has the small white orb. And so for the slide film, all I'll do is I look at, well, where's the light hitting? And I'll measure it right there. So that particular day, that day was just straight up sunny. And everything was pretty easy to measure. So if I was like shooting a mountain, I just kind of looked up, popped it, and said, okay, that's where your settings were. And since the light didn't really change, I actually didn't have to meter that often.
That's
'Cause,
nice.
Yeah, so you just kind of get it out in. Because with slide film, if you're unaware, you really have to be precise with the metering. Like if you overexpose it, it's bright, and we can't do anything to fix it in scanning. I think that happened the other day, right?
It did, yeah. Somebody had really overexposed film and we couldn't do anything about it in the email that's asking about it.
I mean, you're locked in either way. I mean, with color negative film, if you overexpose it, 1 stop, 2 stops, 3 stops, the scanner sees that it's bright, but it can see all the color information and it can bring it back down a normal exposure. But slide film, it's locked in. There's no changing it. So slide film looks good, but you do have to be pretty precise with your metering.
I only shot one roll ever, and I sat on it for like a year and a half because I was nervous to shoot it, and then it turned out not that great. So
Mine turned out okay.
You've shot some recently?
Not recently, but the first one I shot.
what'd you shoot?
What did I shoot? Oh, I
Yeah.
yeah.
No, like what was your?
It was downtown DeLand in the historic district.
Actually, did it look good?
Some of them did.
I tried to do a sunset on the airplane, and mine did not look good at all. They were all like
Oh.
blurry, and the colors were funky, and yeah, it was all it.
Yeah.
One good picture on the whole roll.
Oh, that reminds me. Do you guys know about that guy? He has a YouTube channel called Smarter Every Day.
You told me about
I
it.
think I told you about
It's about
He
it.
had a video when I used to do couples counseling or counseling. We called Backwards Bicycle, and it was about a bicycle that when you turn the handlebars to the left, the wheel goes right. You turn the handlebars to the right, your wheel goes left.
Oh, you told me about this.
And so I used a lot when I did mental health counseling, kind of going over how does your brain learn and form habits and get out of old habits over time. But there's an article, I think Petapixel put it out or someone put it out. He shot the Eclipse on slide film. Like he bracketed it.
Oh.
And he nailed it. So we'll have a link down below to the
wanna see
article
that.
or the YouTube channel, but it came out really, really well.
That's so cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I think we're at our 30-minute mark. So we'll be right back. So that was pretty much New Zealand in a nutshell. How was the lab while I was gone? I guess we'll flip it on to you
John
guys
took
now.
it over. I don't know what
I really didn't. Okay, that was.
I did get a text message. I think I texted you guys after I was starting to feel better because you had texted me something about just a question. And I was like, I'm feeling so bad right now. I was like, just make a list of things that you need my help with. And if I'm feeling better or when I get back, we'll go over them. But then at some point I texted you guys, how are things going? And one of you texts something like,
It was Sierra, and I told her to.
oh,
It was like, we're taking over the lab. We don't need you anymore.
Oh, that's
Like
what
that.
it was.
yeah, I get a text said, John says, the lab is running fine without you and we're taking over the lab. So you can't come back. There's a mutiny and insurrection. I was not going to have a job when I got back. So, but I think things were pretty smooth. I think this was like the first time where I was gone a really long time, and you guys have ran the lab before without me, but you know, it's like 2.5. It was actually almost 3 weeks because when I got back, I was having bad jet lag on the way back. There was a day when I got back home where I didn't sleep all night, and then I was up the next day. I think I was up about 40 hours. And then that night when I went back to bed, I only slept 4 hours. So for the past week, I've only been sleeping like 4 hours a night. But the good thing is like there's no pressure. Like when I was in New Zealand, I'm like, I have to sleep. I have this amazing
Right.
lifetime trip. But now I'm like, if I don't sleep, it's fine.
Just coming to work late.
Yeah,
Or just don't. I mean, we've kind of proven you don't have to come in every day.
that is true. That
The
is
only
true.
thing was the first week, for some reason, we had this crazy amount of black and white and slide to develop. And so that takes one person away that's basically have to do that all day. And then I think we were on like we had some stuff that needed to go out that day, and our system crashed
Our
for like
entire
a few
Yeah,
hours, like the
all of
last couple
Shopify
hours.
just
Shopify just
Down.
stopped wanting to load on all the computers. We reset it, like turned off the web, like we
tried everything.
and then it was just like I think she looked it up, and it was literally like a
server outage or
Yeah,
something.
like Shopify was like, we are having an issue here.
Well, no, the weird part is anytime we have an issue with Shopify, I always check the status page because they have a special page where it'll tell you what's going on and stuff. At first, all of our stuff was going down, and the status page didn't say anything was wrong. And so I was so confused. I was like, everything's not working, and you're saying it's fine. So why? And then later it updated saying there was this massive error.
Yeah.
But
And at the same time, White Room decided to also have a problem.
Wow.
That was
See,
was
the
weird.
curse of the vacation strikes again.
it's
They
true.
did.
That was like
We
the
talked
first
about
couple
this-
of days you were gone.
We talked about this in a previous podcast of how when John is gone, normally it's like a mechanical hardware failure of some sort, or some part needs to be replaced. But I guess when I'm gone, it's all software.
It's all
related.
Yeah, I guess.
I don't know which one I prefer.
But we ended up getting caught up, and it ended up being fine. But that first week for sure, like there was definitely a little bit of like we were a little bit behind, but then we got
Yeah.
We just
got
worked
back
a
up
few
to it
overtime.
Yeah, I think
And then
I
it
was
was fine.
consistently working overtime, like even the week before you left.
Yeah.
So that we could just, so we could stay.
I mean, I think, yeah, we all worked overtime.
Yeah, we
That
did.
goes both all the time.
All the full time people did. Yeah.
All three of you, the full timers.
Oh, right.
Yeah, if you don't know it, we have 3 full-time employees at Reform Film Lab. This wonderful group.
Eee.
Then we have 3, which is crazy to say, part-time employees, which is 6 employees, which is wild because it's
is
never
wild.
We went from
It's
the
always been 4.
3 or 4 of us to 4 of us.
Yeah, we've
Yeah, it's
always
been
had like
It was 3 for a
4.
while.
It was.
That's
it
true.
was
When
for a while.
after Faith left,
But Michael was there, so it was 4. But then,
Yeah.
but employees, it was 3, and then Hope hopped out. We were like almost not a full year, but like
It was a while.
like 6
about
months,
6 to 8 months. Yeah, where it was just the 3 of us, and then it was like we need to
we
get somebody for
we need more
something.
people.
Yeah, yeah.
And yeah, honestly, we kind of barely just stay afloat
Yeah.
these days. So it's even crazy with the extra help.
Yeah, it's like we need one person to do some of the other stuff that we can't devote time to.
Yeah, that's what I think I've observed in the past like year in particular. I mean, film photography is growing, but our lab in particular is just growing so much to where So today's May 31st, the day we're recording this. It's the last day of the month. And we, once again, have had another record month where we have received more processing orders than any other month since we've been open. And we're a young lab. We've only been open 4 years.
We're young.
Yeah. I mean, there's other labs across the nation that have been open a long time. They've been established. But I would say this past year, we've seen a lot of growth to where Hope was working like 32 hours last week, or during those weeks. She was almost full time. Brianna is our latest hire. She's working more. She was an intern we had, and we've hired her on. So it's just wild. I've even been thinking about, do we need to hire another person? Because when we have like myself or one person out,
you can feel the difference.
You can feel it, you know.
Someone's got to pick up the slack usually at first, and then I was like, it'd be nice to have one like that little cushion, because it's like if someone's leaving, it's like, all right, everybody should know, pick up the slack. Nobody else can take time off. It's like everybody's got to be here, all hands on deck.
Well, and that kind of makes it complicated too, since we're siblings.
Yep.
Trying to go on family vacations together. It's kind of like, yeah, and Hope and John, it's like...
Shot myself in the foot there, hiring families. Yeah, I mean, that's always been the case, like, where we've had to plan around that. But, yeah, we may need to hire some more people soon. So you can leave a comment down below if you're looking for a job, maybe.
Wow.
Locals.
If you can bear with all of us.
Yeah.
That is.
We'll be nice for a while.
That's
For
true.
maybe the first week.
Yeah.
I'll be nice for a while. They won't be, but it's part of it.
Yeah. But it is amazing how much we've grown. But it's nice, too, because you guys did an amazing job. I could take a 2-week vacation and everything ran without a problem. Except when Shopify crashed, which is pretty rare. So we use Shopify for our website and our point of sale. And it's been phenomenal over the years. They've been great. So Shopify, we love you.
Yeah, no hate.
Except that they are always changing their interface.
That's true. They do update the admin side of the website a lot. So we're like, why did they change that?
And
but
we still love
yeah,
you.
and we still love your Shopify, but
we do. If you want to open an online store, use Shopify, and we're not even sponsored by them. They've been literally that great. So
yeah, they're awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, definitely a lot of growth.
it's what, almost 2 times the amount that we were making now?
Last year?
So
last May, I looked at like what we did in processing compared to this May, and it's probably about 70 to 80% more. Last month, it was 100% growth. We had 100% increase in processing.
Crazy.
So, like even today, we were recording a vlog for the YouTube channel about a new scanner that we got in. So now we have 3 new Ritsu scanners. Before we had 2, and we have the Fuji Frontier scanner. So we have it set up. We'll have a vlog soon, basically, where we can have 2 people scanning with 2 different scanners, and just to keep up with the demand. But it's wild. I mean, even so, one thing we do the Bonjoros. And Bonjoro is, if you don't know what it is, it's an app that connects with Shopify, and it allows you to send video messages to your customers. And we have it set up to where whenever we get a new customer at the lab, we send them a thank you video. So just to put a face to the business. And over the years,
Each of us have
been in charge of it. So
Except for John.
We'll throw the meme up for why.
Yeah, there's a story about that. We'll get to the story. So
my gosh.
when I opened the lab, I found Bonjoro, and this is when we were small. We'd get maybe 2 or 3 orders a day. And so I'd get an order in. I'd be like, oh, cool, an order came in. And then the app on your phone pops up, such and such, place an order. So you literally get on the phone and you say, hey, I'm Mike from Reformed Film Lab. Just want to say thanks for your order. We have like a spiel we go through. And it's just a way that, because with online shopping or with any film lab, you can actually connect. Like, okay, these are the people developing my film. So I did them for a while, and eventually got to the point to where I was like, Sierra, will you do the Bonjoros for me?
No, Ava.
I did. Because we were in the garage, and the way that it was set up was the desk that I would do them at was my back was facing to where John was.
Yep.
And he would always come into the frame and just do random stuff.
Like dance in the background?
He would just make faces or just be weird.
Any of you OG customers know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got
the
those
garage.
Bonjoros. We
Yeah, the garage
apologize.
Bonjoros.
If you're listening to this podcast for the first time, or if you're new to Reform Film Lab, we started in my home garage.
Yep.
Yeah.
All of us. And
We lasted about a year and a half in the garage.
Which is
and
Crazy.
which was
wild.
fine, but it got to the point to where we had 3 or 4 people in a garage. The garage was nice. It wasn't like a car garage. Like we finished it. It had flooring. We
AC.
sealed the doors. It had AC. It was like a room.
It's freezing in there.
We did keep it cold.
It was always cold.
You were the only one that was cold.
Summer. It was so great.
Yeah, we had that AC cranked down to like 68 or 67 during the
It's
summer.
so nice though.
Yeah.
Are you going
Sierra
to
would
the
wear jackets all the
garage?
time.
What was the
would.
name for
I
it? It was
literally
the
would.
pit or something?
Oh,
What was
the
name?
Pit of Despair.
The Pit of
Now that we
Despair.
have the nice big place.
Yeah, when we moved, it got dubbed the Pit of Despair from The Princess Bride, but it was nice.
It
nice.
was
It
actually
was
nice.
very nice.
Yeah, when we first built it, I was like, yeah, my original idea for the lab was I'm going to be I'll counsel, do mental health counseling and like work in the lab one day a week. Well, then that turned into I had to leave my counseling practice, then turned into I hired John to work at the lab. And you guys were already helping me with some of the lab product stuff. And then you came on, the other thing.
Part.
But now I don't even know how we even got on this subject. My mind is
Talking
derailed.
about how much we've grown.
Oh, how much we got. Yeah, so we were in my home garage.
Bonjoros. That's what we
Oh,
were talking about.
Bonjoros. Thank you. Now, all right, I'm back on track. So Bonjoros, back in the garage. I think you did them for a while.
Mhm.
And then when we moved here about a year and a half after being open, we moved to this location. We've been here ever since. I think Faith did them, and then you
And
did
then
them.
I did them.
And now it's become a thing that whoever's the newest employee
Yeah.
does them. So Hope does them.
Brianna and Isaac, they get a break.
They get a break. Brianna, because she was a college intern, she got past the Bonjoros.
Yeah.
But I really like the Bonjoros because people, you can send them a video and then they will write us back, or they can actually, we've seen this. They'll send us a video reply. So periodically, a customer will video themselves saying, "Hey, this was awesome." But we've got a lot of good feedback. A lot of people like the Bonjoros, and it's been something that we're growing legitimately. Every single day, we have 20 to 30 Bonjoros to do. So that means that's 20 to 30 new people who have discovered Reformed Film Lab. So
and
that's where
placed orders.
the growth is wild. So that's
Yeah.
why I'm thinking in the future, man, analog photography is just on this bullet train. It's not dying. It's going on.
No.
That's why we've just bought a new scanner. We're expanding our scanner lineup. We're going to be probably getting a new black and white film processor because you said black and white film has just been insane lately.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Especially when you have 2 people double prepping. It's the black and white comes so much quicker. Like whenever it's one person prepping, I usually just keep up with developing it. But whenever it's 2 people prepping, it just fills up so quick. And I just like I'm playing catch up the whole day. It's like if I have like a nice processor and just throw them all in there, it'd be nice.
The only thing is, I was talking to John about that, is the dust when they would come out
Yeah, how are we managing
on the
the
black and white?
dust
'Cause
on the black and white film?
Come out of the dryer. They
people
go right
that
into
don't
that
know,
holding.
when we
Oh.
scan the black and white film, it doesn't have any dust detection. So that when I'm exporting or when Michael's exporting, we have to go through and dust every single image of the black and white. So if John decides to
Drag them
get
across
dust
the floor.
on it,
We don't dragon it because across the floor.
No, I'm kidding.
Okay.
Sierra, we
All I will
don't
do,
ever
all I will
that.
do is if I really want to annoy Ava, is when it's going into a scanner, I'll take a nice gloved hand and I'll just like touch the last frame and it'll just be covered in dust and she has to go through and dust everyone.
Yeah. So if you don't know, when we scan film, scanners have something called digital ice or dust removal. So if there's any dust, you can't avoid dust. It's everywhere. It's in the air. It's just, if it gets on the film, it's able to like Photoshop clone it out basically. And with black and white film, because the way the film is designed, there's silver in the film still, it doesn't work. So we go through, we check your black and white images, and if there's by chance any piece of dust or anything that is on it, literally from pulling it out of the dryer, walking to the scanner and putting it in, then we
There's
clone it out
dust.
and we clean it up. So the processor we're looking at getting is similar to the color processor. It's a roller transport processor. So rather than us working on your black and white in a Jobo processor in a tank, it goes into a chemical processor machine and comes out dry, ready to go. So I think with those, some of the issue is when you're literally doing your final rinse of the water, like so you're taking the black and white film out of the canister and you're putting it through photo flow, and then from there it's all wet, you're hanging it up. If there's any dust in the air that hits it, it sticks to it while it's wet and it's there. Really small. And when I say small, and people probably listen to this probably think there's dust everywhere. That's not the case, but it's small particles. Maybe in an image of 36, there'll be 4 or 5 images that have to be cleaned up. Sometimes it's more.
Sometimes it's more. And sometimes the rolls don't really have any.
Yeah.
It
So
really
it's like
just
hit or miss.
depends.
So if I'm pulling literally a black and white roll out, I'm putting it through photo flow, or really you, and then you're putting it into the dryer, if there's any dust in the air that hits it, that's the dust that sticks, and that's what we're cloning out.
So it'll be dry when it comes out. So as long as he blows it off, it should be fine.
Yeah.
Well, my thought too with the actual processor for it is sometimes you can just get unlucky and you get these streaks from the drying. And I don't know why. We've pretty much fixed it, but sometimes you have one-offs where there'll be streaks from the drying in that dryer just because we have those metal brackets, and then just sometimes there'll be streaks. I think that would take away pretty much all of that having its own dryer.
Yeah, when you hang dry film with photo flow is designed to leave it streak free. But if there's something, if the mixture was off, or maybe the hanger, a little bit of like rust from a hanger, if a hanger is getting rusty comes onto it, you can have different components that can make it harder. But I'm talking to a vendor now, 2 vendors that convert roller transport processors that are designed for C41. They convert them to black and white. If we get it, then in theory, it should be able to come out dry and not have that. The guy who runs Boutique Film Lab in Tennessee, Ryan, fantastic guy. When we first opened the lab, I was reaching out, trying to get counsel from anybody who would help me. And he was just like, listen, film photography is getting popular. I'm super busy at Boutique Film Lab. I have no problem helping you and answering any questions you have. So in the beginning, when we opened the lab, I was just picking his brain left and right on, processing film, this and that, customer service, just things like that. And he was super helpful. And he has actually a black and white roller transport processor. Ilford.
I think I saw that.
Yeah, on their website.
I saw on their social media they had like their 2 processors, and they all are scared like they're seeing their setup compared to ours.
I'm pretty sure he used to be in their home as well, and he has moved Boutique Film Lab to a retail location because they're super busy as well. They're definitely one of the top film labs in the nation, and he has Ilford. Because they make all the black and white film, they used to make a true black and white roller transport processor, and he has one super rare, super hard to find. But I remember talking to him once, and he was pretty sure, at least if my memory is serving me correctly, he was saying because of the roller transport, they have a less problem with dust.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
So I think overall, the lesson would be is if we get that will help us kind of meet the demand of black and white. It will improve our turnaround times and things like that. Because if you scan your own film at home, whether it's color or black and white, if you don't have that ability to remove it, there's always going to be dust. It's inevitable. There's dust everywhere. Your eye can't see it. And the scanners are scanning at such a fine resolution, scanning so much that it can be the smallest particle. Your eye won't see it. It'll show up in the sky.
Right, it's blowing it up.
Yeah.
So it's going to show.
It's wild too after you do it for so long. You can go through them pretty quickly and immediately your brain just starts picking it out. Even if it's the smallest piece of dust in like the corner, that doesn't, it's like I could just look at, like I'm sure can do the same thing.
Yeah, we were talking about that with the color, how when you scan, what were you saying last time?
Well, you can just tell like when you scan stuff, it's like immediately I already know what color needs to be shifted, whereas someone just doesn't do it, just doesn't know because they're not used to seeing. And also the film too, like we just know what film's supposed to look like and what certain stocks are supposed to look like. So like, I'd say pretty much all of us here could look at an image and do the corrections real quick and then be done. And then someone that's a little bit newer would just take them a little bit longer. But you get into like a muscle memory of like, okay, this is supposed to look like this. Shadows are supposed to look like this. The sky is supposed to look like this. You're able to like burn through it and like know what everything's supposed to look like.
Yeah. So the same thing with the dust detection or the dust with the black and white. But I do think actually literally today, one of the guys who does the conversion, I think he lives over in the UK. He messaged me because he knew I was going to be in New Zealand for a couple of weeks. I told him, I was like, let me get back home, get situated, get kind of caught up with all the logistics of the lab. And what he does is he'll travel here and he'll convert one of our V30 processors to black and white, and then he'll train us to use it. So my thought is we have a V50, a backup V50 processor, and then we have a V30. I really don't want to get rid of the V30 and only have 2 processors, as crazy as that sounds.
Wait,
I only want to have 2.
You never know.
Yes, we have another one that I pulled some parts off recently, so it's a little decommissioned. But I want to get another V50 processor. So we have 3 working color processors, no downtime, right? Especially when John goes on vacation. The curse strikes, no downtime. And then I want to have maybe him convert that V30 to black and white. Because if that goes down, we have the Jobo as a backup. So these are things like I'm always thinking through as we have this rapid growth, like what do we need to do to make sure we're ready for the future? Like, we built that desk today. We put that new scanner in today. So, like, just to make sure the future of analog, we're investing into it. Those 2 scanners were like $35,000. So that was a big investment.
Keep ordering, people.
Yeah. So we're invested in the film, taking the profits and just putting it back into the business. But I think it's important because if we don't, a lot of these machines aren't being made anymore. So we need to make sure that we're keeping up, ordering parts, and always having something on hand, because we're definitely not a small lab anymore. We definitely do a lot now.
Oh, when something goes down, too, we've had it a couple times. I think less with the scanners. Form processors. When a processor goes down, we're screwed for like a while just because it's playing catch up. Now we would be.
We'd
We would
probably
be
just
so
have to
underwater.
shut down, as it were, to get that sit.
Yeah, I think if something
There's so
happened,
much
if
stuff.
something happened to our working processor, if a part went bad, we need to replace. We have another working one where literally we would just swap them out. Like, so I'm not worried about it. But that's what I was saying. I'd like to have an extra one on hand to where it's just more bulletproof if something happens. The only thing it would do is we'd have to literally pause orders for the day, remix new chemicals, put it in, and we would be good to go.
Work more overtime.
Work more overtime, or I'd be working that weekend. So.
Mike, whenever those processors would go down, you'd be here for
You would
like
be here.
12-hour days, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we've only
More
had
than that.
that one time when you went on your first vacation, the first curse of John struck, when our first processor that we ever owned actually died. It was literally dying.
I think
So-
we talked about that. In the
Oh, we
first-
have talked about
I think
it.
in our first podcast we talked about it. Our second one,
Yeah.
maybe.
We did. So go listen to the first podcast and so you can get that story. But first processor died. We pulled the backup processor in, and that one had problems. And I just had to troubleshoot it for a few days. In hindsight, I'm not glad it happened, but I learned a lot. I learned how do these machines work. And so now if something does happen, I'm like, oh, we just need to do this. Or like today we got a new scanner in. We got a bunch of parts. These processors have a lot of parts that have wear and tear up parts on them. So like this part should go bad after a little bit, maybe a gear or a drying rack. So we end up replacing them. But yeah, I definitely don't want to have that happen again to where we don't have a working processor. So that's why we have 4 working processors at the lab. And we would just have to have a day to switch it out. And that's normal. These machines are old. And to switch it out, I think would be much more efficient than where we were 2 years ago. Pretty much it.
Yeah.
Is that it for the podcast?
I think so.
I think so.
It's Friday.
It's Friday. Yeah. Ready for the
We
weekend.
used to have a Friday curse, actually. It went away
We
finally.
did.
Oh, you want to tell them about that? We'll end on that.
For
That's a
For
good
like,
story.
okay, so I'm trying to think of what. I think it was the
Back in the garage. Back
and
in
it
the
would
garage.
be like consistently every Friday, something big would happen. Like it would be either like I think it started actually with, I think the first Friday it started with that. I put the scanner. So with the Scan Station 2, you have this big carrier
Fuji
as
Frontier.
opposed to, the Fuji one, as opposed to the Noritsus, which are a little bit smaller, so it's easier to put on there. But if you get the Fuji one messed up, it'll be like sitting tilted. So every scan will be blurry. And so I think that was the first Friday where I scanned an entire day.
John, I think, had only been working here maybe a couple months. It was like really early on. And you put this carrier into the scanner and it's perfectly aligned. So it's flat and straight to keep the film straight. Well, he put it on and misaligned it and it was crooked. So he scanned an entire day's worth of film and
medium scans, and it was cut and sleeve too. I remember there was one big order, because that's back when I didn't go fast. So I think it was literally like 2 or 3 orders I did in the whole day.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a big medium order. It was cut and sleeve, so I had to go back and scan each 4 strip.
Yeah, because when you scan film, you scan the whole roll, but if it's cut, you got to do it in strips. So I go to export the film and send it to the customer, and a roll was blurry. I'm like, okay, well, that's weird. Maybe they're just out of focus. And then the next customer's orders were blurry. I'm like, that's really odd. And then I just started looking at all the files from the day. And then I walked over to the scanner, and right when I walked over, I saw it. I'm like, John, this is crooked. You have to rescan all of the film today.
Oh gosh! Now I literally every day I literally am like double checking, making sure everything.
Oh
is
yeah, you put it in like
completely
you're
aligned.
like
But then that started, I think, and then like every Friday for like a few months, it'd be something big would happen.
Someone
Like,
would stab themselves.
Oh, Ava had this habit of cutting herself
Or
at least once a week.
On
the
Friday.
first time I opened a 35 millimeter canister in the dark room
You cut yourself?
by myself, I get multiple fingers
which let me make it known,
were just sliced open.
I have been doing this for 3 years and never once cut my hand opening a can. It's not that hard, but for some reason, for like 2 or
This
3
one
weeks
here.
straight, it'd be a cut all the time. And she'd be like, oh, I'm bleeding again. And I'm like, wow.
One time I know she stabbed herself with a
I've
screwdriver.
actually done that. So.
Opening
I've done that.
disposable cameras.
Well, those cameras.
The underwater
Yes,
ones,
they slip
are
and they
a
go
little-
right into your palm.
Like this, and you have a flathead screwdriver. You're trying to pry it, but also get it in to pry it open. So then it goes.
And slips and right into the palm. Yep, I've had palm for sure.
Oh,
Been
yeah.
like little cuts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the Curse of the Friday lasted a little while, and I
It
think
did.
that it's over now.
Well, because
So-
we
we're
used
good.
to not work Fridays. And then when we started working Fridays,
Yeah.
that's when it happened.
That's why we used to like work half days and stuff.
yeah, when you guys
Well,
first started, I don't
we
think you worked
like
Friday.
Tuesday, Wednesday,
crazy.
Thursday, or something like some like
Well,
weird
it-
middle.
no,
of the
it was
week.
Part
only-
time.
For a long time, it was only Wednesday.
That was when we were doing Amazon.
No, I know, but
I
like
know.
the fact that it started from one half day and now we're full time.
Yeah, you guys
Wild.
used to work like one half day a week, and then you
Mhm.
worked more, and then a couple
2
days, and a few
days.
days, and now all 3 of you are full time. And you're all adults now.
I know.
Finally.
You were so young when you started. John, you were 16,
Yep.
and you're 19 now.
Yep.
19.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So we're in it for the long haul. We appreciate you tuning in, and we will see you on the next episode.
Cheers.
Cheers.